Well, hey folks, welcome back to Shaky Hands Workshop. Today I'm going to go over, uh, let's try this again. I was watching Wylock do Cavern Terrains because I've got a current D&D campaign where I've got my guys in a mine, and that kind of solidified what I was trying to think about as far as what how to do Cavern Terrain. So after watching what he did, I went ahead and decided to have a run at making my own, and this is what I've come up with. This is the end result right here, and we'll go through the step by step of how I did this, and hopefully you'll find it useful. I've got a couple other things I want to do with the cavern type setting. We'll get more of those coming up here after a while. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the video, and please let me know what you think. Thank you. Well, as I'm going through editing this video, it's been a while. Apparently I've missed a couple steps, like turning on the video camera when I was cutting out cutting out some of the pink board and the medium graphics weight chipboard to get my shapes for the different cavern walls. So this will explain the little gap, and hopefully I'll do better. Anyway, enjoy the rest of the video. Sorry about that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and hit this thing with a rock. And tamp down some of that roughness, those little more hard edges and stuff. So for this part, I'm going to use a hot glue gun just to hold these things down. And as I can go through some Mod Podge and stuff here, they'll get the more glue stuff I put down, like the Mod Podge and some of the Eileen's tacky glue to help hold this stuff down. I'm going to do those, each individual piece I'm going to put down and kind of trace out a basic shape. I want to give I like having bases, so I like having to be, I like to be able to add more to the scene, if you will, with some details. So I'm going to kind of give myself a little bit of room here to create a base, and then I'll trim it up as I need it. Kind of something like this. If it's looking too big, I'll just trim it up and kind of go from there. And just enough hot glue to hold this thing in place. Oh boy, look at that. Just got it. Yeah, let's do that. something like that. Put that right back down there. All right. I have used things like the expanded PVC foam board, and that stuff is great, but man, it is something else to work with as far as cutting goes. I think for this type of terrain, I'll keep it with the cardboard. I have used foam core in the past, and it's okay, but it will warp. It's stouter scissors, but I have had stuff warp on me. It's not the best. All right, so remembering something. Work smarter, not harder. So we're going to do this. Got the open knife. Couple passes. I'll fine tune it with a pair of scissors. All right, so I'm getting ready to start laying down some cover on these bases. I found this. It's a desert sands soil cover at my local hardware store. Apparently, it's for interior plants, and this has turned out to be. Yeah, that's turned out to be a really good find. It's nice, very fine, sharp sand, and I use that quite a bit. I'm going to use some ground cork. I had a bunch of wine corks. Just ground those up. My wife actually found a bag at the local thrift store of nothing but corks. And she's like, well, I think you could use those. And I quartered them up and threw them in an old blender and just kind of pulsed them until I got this rock-like consistency. And that worked out really, really well. I've got basically this big container full of now just ground cork. And I've still got a whole bunch of those to go yet. I did find that if you grind up the cork sheets, the 1/4-inch cork sheets, those will become very fine, almost like this, almost like the sand. And one of the things that I did do is I went ahead and I ground those all up together and sieved this out, and then separated out to where I got the rocks and then the finer stuff for like a ground cover. Going to be using. I've got at hand some Eileen's tacky glue. We'll be just using that, and then I always keep a thing of a little jar of glue water with a brush. That's the only thing I ever use this for is just to thin down or to make sure my brush is wet when I'm thinning out or putting down my glue. That way it doesn't. I'm not putting it in my paint water or anything like that, and get cross contamination and that type of thing. So anyway, enough yammering. Let's get covering some stuff up here. So I'll do all this first, and then I'll come back and maybe, there we go. And I'll come back with the Mod Podge and I'll basically cover this whole thing in the Mod Podge. But we'll get more into that a little bit later. Let's get in here with a wet brush and spread this stuff around. I got turned on this Eileen's Tacky Glue a couple years back, and I'd never considered it. I found actually this size at my dollar store for, it was like $1, something like that. Yeah, having a wet brush, especially with this stuff, is a good idea. Let's come in here, and I always like to go in with the with the rocks first, and then I'll come in and just like that, and fill in the rest with just the sharp sand. And just like that, kind of gives some good coverage for that. And there we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and knock out the rest of these, just following the same process. Kind of settled on my color palette. I'm going to be using some pewter gray. This will be my base color, which is what I've done here. And then I'm going to be using a bit of raw umber, some crimson, a bit of burnt sienna, some yellow ochre, and a bit of cadmium red hue. These are what I've got. These just colors I've settled on, and then I'll be doing kind of a blending color, if you will, of suede or some type of light tan color, something like that. And that will end up, after going over with a nice black wash, that'll give you this effect. So I'm going to go through and start stippling on this one, and we'll kind of see how we go from there. Start with this. We'll start with this burnt sienna. This is, again, these were just kind of some colors that stuck out to me that I thought would look really good. Use whatever color palette you like. Let's go ahead and get some on there. I've got about another dozen similar pieces, or straighter pieces, off camera. So I'm going to put a little more on there. Not going to be worrying so much about cleaning my brush between colors and such, because the whole thing's going to be, I'm going for kind of a natural stone look, as natural as I can make it, I guess. So just going to be a matter of doing a lot of stippling. And I'm going to kind of do a kind of like that motion, because I found that when I was doing this before, that just a standard stippling doesn't seem to blend it as well as what I like. This is just, again, for me, this is the way that I prefer to do it. Use whatever technique works for you. next I'm gonna come in now with this carmine red, or cadmium red hue. Okay. I have a carmine red for something I was using for something else. I can't remember what it was, but same thing. Just same basic process with that. Just kind of keep it as random as possible. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and move on with this crimson. Yeah, if you ever let the paint dry under here, I found, well, probably for me because of my arthritis, but yeah, you'll need a pair of pliers to open that thing up. So, be forewarned. But now let's come in here and just kind of, again, kind of randomize it. I've got that down. Now I come in here with some raw umber. I first did this, I thought, man, this is going to be way too many colors, but it actually works, seems to work out pretty good, for my eye anyway. I'm not worrying about the ground cover right here because the I guess the thought process is that it's in a cavern, so that's not going to be as well defined as this, I guess. I don't know. Sounds good in my head, so we'll just go with that. Raw umber apparently this stuff is fairly translucent, looks like. Yeah, but and finally, this has become one of my favorite colors. Actually, is this yellow ochre. Not sure why, but it's just I started using this color on a series of desert terrain I'd made for bolt action, and it's just been kind of a nice go-to, like a mustard color. It's got a little vibrancy to it, but it mutes down to some darker. I prefer winter colors, I guess one of the terms. I prefer darker colors. I've caught myself, or I've been pushing myself to get a little out of my comfort zone and go with some brighter colors for painting miniatures and stuff. I've gone into doing some historical stuff like Napoleonics, where I'm kind of pushing that a little brightness a little bit more. Kind of instead of using a black undercoat, go with more of a gray or even a white undercoat. It makes a big difference. The only thing I hate about doing white though is it seems like you can never, if you mess up or don't cover it correctly, it'll take forever to find it or to get it covered. It's always been my experience anyway. So now I've got all that down. I'm going to go ahead and hit this whole thing with actually I'm going to hit it with this suede first, and then I'm going to black wash it. And all I'm going to try and do here with the suede is just kind of almost blend everything kind of together. I've tried I can do wet blending kind of, but not, it's not something I think about doing on a regular basis. It's just, I guess that's what I'm kind of going for here with this, is kind of blurring some of these colors together. Kind of tamp them down, if you will. And get a little bit of highlight. Alright, so now I've got that. I hit this with a black wash. Not with the handle. Let's use the brush. There we go. Anyway, to me, this is what kind of brings it all together. Right here. And to keep this stuff from pooling too much, I'm going to come in with a makeup wedge and just dab off a lot of this excess. And just let that dry. So yeah, once that dries, I'll come back and highlight the rest of it. And then we'll call that good. Alright, in the meantime, I'm going to push on with the rest of this stuff. So that's it. That's how we put together basic cavern terrain. This stuff is, like I said, fairly straightforward, fairly easy. And yeah, you can crack out. I mean, drawing time is always going to be the thing. But depending upon what you how you go about it, you probably have this done in a weekend. Anyway, I hope you found all this useful. If you did, please hit the like, share, subscribe button, and that little bell icon thingy. And in the meantime, I'll let you go. Appreciate y'all stopping by.